We want to thank you for taking time to meet with us today. We know your time is valuable, so we'll get right to it. Our talented team has done extensive research in conducting business in Mexico. On our team, we have Jamie Brown, Jana Bates, Marnie Cochran, Trista Bloomfield, and myself, Whitney Stark. We are excited to now share our findings and business proposals with you. There are major cultural considerations to be made when doing business in Mexico. Hofstede's cultural dimensions provide explanations for behavioral and cultural differences between nations. Mexico and the U.S. score similarly in all areas except uncertainty avoidance, power distance, and individualism. This means Mexicans prefer structure and security versus having contentment with future ambiguity. Mexicans accept and follow the direction of leaders in a hierarchical system much easier. Because of this, it is important to negotiate and build relationships with people of power. Mexicans value tradition and community over self. This means they will be more interested in benefits that raise the collective instead of the individual. Overall, there are more similarities than differences between our two nations, and the differences are easily overcome with proper understanding. On global cultural scales, Mexico and the United States have similar views on direct negative feedback and confrontation. However, when it comes to communicating, Mexicans are more likely to use implicit language, so be on the lookout for implied messages and look to soften communications when in pursuit of favorable responses. Mexico also has a much more flexible scheduling culture than the United States, which can get tricky when planning for punctuality and deadlines. It is recommended that company employees attempt to follow through on deadlines and projections as much as possible without offensively pushing the issue with their Mexican counterparts. Mexicans love a good bargain. Haggling, posturing, and deception are all regular and accepted Mexican bargaining techniques. They expect to be treated with respect and will do the same in return. Though they will probably be late to the meeting, you are expected to be on time. They value relationships, family, and friends, and will prefer to do business in these trusted circles. Northern Mexico, due to its proximity to the United States, will have a more business-oriented outlook and will feel more familiar to the U.S. business person. The further south you travel, the more laid back the business environment. Overall, it will take time to build relationships, gain trust, and settle on a win-win deal. Patience and non-judgment over cultural bargaining differences is a must. Mexico is comprised of 31 states under a federal umbrella. A president is elected and serves a term of 6 years. Current President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador was elected in 2018 with a vision of an economy that would benefit the people and root out crime and violence. Though doing so would greatly improve the safety and productivity of business in Mexico, the reality is that policy is changing without actions following. The legislative election of 2019, rife with the deaths of over 90 politicians, proves the volatile nature of politics and policy that still exist in Mexico as an unstable environment. In other current events, the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, was updated in July of 2020 and is now known as the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA. President Biden has reinstated the U.S.-Mexico High-Level Economic Dialogue, HLED, communications with Mexico to open freer commerce. The COVID-19 pandemic has restricted non-essential travel between nations, but provided the U.S. with the opportunity to build philanthropic relations with Mexico. Mexico's economic freedom score is very similar to the world average, with a couple differences. A higher investment and trade freedom score suggests opportunity for great beneficial business activity. Mexico has significantly less constraints on the flow of investment capital, and foreign direct investments are permitted in most of the country. Conversely, judicial effectiveness and government integrity scores would suggest difficulty in obtaining, executing, and enforcing contracts. The ability to maintain integrity when working with government oversight regarding typical business operations will be an ongoing challenge. Mexico also has a below-average financial freedom score. The long-term implications of this will impact each citizen's spending freedom. This may indicate difficulty reaching projected sales revenues for business in the area. Mexico has 13 free trade agreements with 50 countries, including previously mentioned USMCA. The U.S. has trade agreements with many of the same countries as Mexico, but can gain access to Japan, Bolivia, New Zealand, Vietnam, the countries of the European Union, and the European Free Trade Association. High tariff industries to avoid are tobacco, dairy, clothing, sugars, and confectionery industries. Policies vary widely between the different trade agreements and should be analyzed with the business operation of choice. The most significant foreign direct investment, FDI incentive, Mexico offers is their IMEX program. This program allows FDIs to bring raw materials into the country duty-free as long as the completed products all go out of the country again. With this comes a 0% value-added tax for exports and a quicker turnaround time for refunds on taxes. Mexico also has created incentives to invest in different zones in Mexico. The Special Economic Zones, SEZ, incentives include easier regulatory processes, duty-free or refunds of custom fees, trade facilities, and reduces current taxes. Another zone is the Free Trade Zone, FTZ. This allows goods to be sent from Mexico duty-free, refunds duties paid, and reduces value-added tax and income tax. Mexico restricts foreign direct investments in a few sectors and few professional and technical services. One limited sector that may affect our business choices is the limited of only 49% of foreign ownership in the agricultural sector. There is also a restriction of foreign property ownership in certain restricted areas of Mexico. This should be considered when choosing a location. However, with Mexico being one of the largest market recipients of FDI, their many incentives far outweigh their few restrictions. Gross national income was on the rise in Mexico until the COVID-19 pandemic. Gross domestic product dropped dramatically from 2019 to 2020, but the economy grew by 5% in 2021, suggesting Mexico is on the road to recovery. The most recent inflation incline, beginning in 2020, hit a new high of 7.36% in January of this year. Because of this, consumers' purchasing power has been reduced and may cut into possible sales and profits. Mexico's interest rate was on the rise until 2019. Then, in an effort to encourage reluctant borrowers, the rate was dropped to 5.5%. The low interest rate might make for profitable hedging opportunities should the need or opportunity arise. Based on best estimates of existing numbers, Mexico is in a recession, the suspected cause of which is the COVID-19 pandemic. But Mexico is currently showing signs of recovery. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating effect on the currency exchange rate of the Mexican peso. Specifically, the restriction of non-essential travel between the U.S. and Mexico halted nearly all tourism and recreation. Prior to the pandemic, Mexico was the 6th most visited tourist destination worldwide, with the majority of tourists coming from the United States and Canada. The peso has not yet recovered from this disruption to travel and tourism. Fortunately, a depreciated peso means it is less expensive for Mexico to export goods overseas to foreign consumers, which can allow businessmen to remain competitive in international markets. The current low value of the peso may warrant investigation into currency investment options of buying low and selling high. Our first proposed product is single-serving flavored water purification packets. Unsustainable water management practices in Mexico have rendered the drinking water undrinkable. It is often contaminated and can lead to serious illness. This has led to a huge market for water purification. The current water purification products on the market take at least 30 minutes to work and are intended to purify large quantities. Our proposed product is sold in single-serve packets of purification powder. This allows it to work quickly on smaller quantities of water. Agua Fresca is a popular Mexican drink with a flavor that our single-serving water purification packets will attempt to mimic. Single-serving flavored drink packets exist and perform well in Mexico market, but none of them have water purification properties. By adding flavor to the purification packets, we make an appealing and necessary product irresistible. We will be able to sustain sales through proprietary recipes and purification technology, as well as mass manufacturing. One major factor to consider in Mexico is crime and security. Most of the crime rate is made up of assaults and thefts. On average, security-related sales have grown approximately 13% since 2015. In addition, it is estimated that as many as 92% of crimes go unreported, as police agencies do not have the trust, the response time, nor the capability to do much more than take a report. As most crimes are crimes of opportunity, the product I am promoting will help minimize the opportunity. This product is called the Security Man Door Security Bar. In essence, it is an expandable pole designed to sit firmly between a door handle and the floor. The simplicity of the design combined with the effectiveness of the product make it easy to understand what it is and how to use it. A typical Mexican home employs only door locks and bars on the windows. There are very few security measures, and people will typically go along with the crime to prevent further harm. To help prevent this, the Security Man Door Bar is an excellent solution. It is low cost, easy to install, and effective, which makes it a great way to curb the crime of opportunity. Our third proposed product is Vertical Grow House Produce. Mexican consumers in highly populated areas lack access to fresh produce grown within city limits. Most markets have their needs fulfilled by trucking in produce from surrounding areas. Current irrigation practices lose billions of liters of water every year, and Mexico is still recovering from shortages introduced by COVID-19 and the 2019 famine. An indoor vertical grow house would serve the locals, green up the industrial areas, conserve water through responsible irrigation practices, and protect crops from unfavorable weather conditions. Competition from the local growers loses potency when produce is damaged in transit and suffers from the same irrigation and weather issues previously mentioned. The Mexican government has invested in 140 greenhouses solely for U.S. consumption. Other greenhouse growers have a more commercial sales focus and lack the ability to capitalize on their airspace through vertical growing. This product is sustainable through government incentive to green industrial areas and proprietary irrigation technology that cuts waste and costs. Because this is a non-traditional way of growing produce, there could be reluctance to adopt the product. However, the larger industrial areas of Mexico tend to follow U.S. trends, in this case, towards clean, green, and locally grown. We hope this methodical research that has been provided thoroughly demonstrates the benefits of business and investing in Mexico. Thank you for your time and consideration.